Were you the old soul in your family? The mature one? The responsible one? Did you find yourself worrying about your parents' feelings more than you worried about your own scraped knees? Did you learn the art of reading a room, of sensing the emotional weather, before you learned long division? You were told this was a gift, a sign of your maturity. But what if it wasn't a gift? What if it was a job? A quiet, unseen, unpaid job that you were given without your consent. The job of being the emotional caretaker, the peacemaker, the confidant. The job of being the adult long before you were ready. This is one of the deepest, most foundational patterns in the human psyche, and it is the origin story for so many of us who are perceptive and so many of us who are exhausted. Today, we are going to talk about this role. This is not a conversation about blame. Let me be very clear about that. It is not about pointing fingers at the past. It is about a compassionate act of psychological archaeology. It is about understanding a pattern so that you can finally be free from it. We will explore the 7 telltale signs that you were given this job as a child. We will look at how you are likely still playing that role today in your adult relationships at a tremendous cost to your own life force. And we will take the first step in learning how to gently and finally resign. Your strength was forged in a fire you were never meant to walk through. Today, we honor that strength by understanding its source.
A child's job is to be a child, to be messy, to be loud, to be selfish, to have needs that are met by the adults around them. But sometimes, the roles are reversed. The child becomes the emotional parent, and the parent becomes the child. This is not a story of blame. It is not a story of malice. Often, it is a story of parents who were themselves wounded, overwhelmed, or lacking support. It is a pattern passed down through generations like a family heirloom no one ever asked for. Jungian psychology calls this understanding the shadow of the family, a collective, unspoken wound. The dynamic is called emotional parentification, and it is the unseen job description you were given the day you were born. So today, let us go through the checklist, not as a form of judgment, but as an act of radical recognition. Let's see if this was your job too. The first sign: you were your parents' confidant. A child needs to talk about their scraped knees, their fears of monsters under the bed. But you found yourself listening to adult problems, financial worries, marital strife, deep existential loneliness. You became a tiny, unlicensed therapist, a keeper of secrets that were too heavy for your heart to carry. Let's imagine Sarah, a 42-year-old human resources manager. She is brilliant at her job, calm in a crisis. Everyone comes to her with their problems, and she is exhausted. She remembers being 8 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, her small legs dangling off the chair. Her mother, crying, is telling her about a fight with her father, about feeling unloved. And little Sarah, with all the seriousness an 8-year-old can muster, pats her mother's hand and says, "It's okay, Mommy. I love you." In that moment, a contract was signed in her soul. My job is to make Mommy okay. My needs are not important right now. And today, as an adult, Sarah is still playing that role. She is the therapist for all her friends. She is drawn to partners who are projects, who need fixing. The exhaustion she feels is not from her 40-hour work week. It is from a lifetime of emotional labor she never knew she could quit. The second sign: you were a little adult. You were praised for being so mature, so responsible, so self-sufficient. While other kids were playing in the mud, you were tidying your room, doing your homework without being asked, perhaps even helping to care for younger siblings. You learned very early that your needs were a burden, that the best way to keep the peace was to have no needs at all, to become invisible. This is the perfectionistic child, the one who senses the chaos in the family system and decides, unconsciously, I will not add to it. I will be perfect. I will be easy. This isn't a personality trait. It is a survival strategy. As an adult, this looks like an inability to relax, a deep discomfort with useless play. You feel a constant, nagging guilt that you should be doing something productive. That is the voice of the little adult, still on the clock, still trying to earn their keep by being perfect. It is a quiet theft of childhood, leaving a lingering ache for a sense of playfulness you never felt you had the right to have. And the third sign. This one will sound familiar. You are hyper-aware of other people's moods. You can walk into a room and instantly feel the emotional temperature. You know before a word is spoken if your boss is in a bad mood or if your partner is upset. This is the superpower we called the emotional radar. And this is where it was born. It was not born in a laboratory. It was forged in the living room of your childhood home. As a child, your safety and security depended on your ability to accurately predict the emotional state of the adults around you. It was a full-time surveillance job. Was Dad's sigh a sign of tiredness or the beginning of a rage? Was Mom's silence a peaceful silence or a disappointed one? You became an expert at reading micro-expressions, tones of voice, the energy in the air. Your nervous system became a highly calibrated, exquisitely sensitive instrument because your survival depended on it. And today, that instrument is still on, at maximum sensitivity, all the time. You walk into a social gathering and you are not just having a conversation. You are unconsciously scanning, processing, and managing the emotional energy of every single person in the room. And you wonder why you feel so drained afterwards. You are not just an introvert. You are a highly trained surveillance expert whose shift has never ended. These are just the first three signs: the confidant, the little adult, the hyper-aware scanner. Perhaps you are already feeling a quiet, sad recognition, a validation of an experience you never had the words for. This recognition is the beginning of your freedom. But the pattern goes deeper. It did not just shape how you felt. It shaped everything you did and everything you are still doing. It shaped your relationship with conflict and your profound inability to ask for help.
The job you were given as a child, it did not come with weekends off. It did not end when you left home. That unwritten contract you signed in your soul, it is still active. The roles you learned to play to keep the peace, they have become the unconscious blueprint for all of your adult relationships. Let us continue down the checklist. Let us look at the next signs and see how they are still running your life today. The fourth sign, you feel an overwhelming sense of responsibility. This goes deeper than just being a responsible person. This is the bone-deep belief that if something goes wrong, it is somehow your fault. If someone is unhappy, it is your job to fix it. This is the direct legacy of the little adult and the hyper-aware scanner. Because you learned to be so attuned to the emotional weather around you, you began to believe you could control it. If you were just good enough, just quiet enough, just helpful enough, you could keep the storm from breaking. For Chloe, our teacher, this shows up in a way that feels like kindness. A friend calls, deeply sad about a breakup. Chloe listens for 2 hours. She gives advice. She offers to help. After the call, her friend feels better. But Chloe feels worse. She feels a heavy, anxious weight. Her first thought is not, my friend is in pain. Her first thought is, what can I do to solve this? It's my responsibility to make her happy again. She has absorbed the problem as her own. She does not see a boundary between her friend's feelings and her own. This is not compassion. This is the parentified child, still on the clock, still believing she is responsible for the emotional well-being of the entire world. And when you believe you are responsible for everything, you can never, ever show a moment of weakness. This leads us to the fifth and perhaps most isolating sign. You rarely ask for help or express your own needs. To the outside world, this looks like incredible strength, hyper-independence. But from the inside, it is a prison of loneliness. Why is it so hard to say, "I need help"? Because the child inside you learned a devastating equation. My needs equal a burden. My needs equal a problem. To have a need was to risk becoming the source of the very chaos you were trying to manage. So you learned to have no needs at all. You became a ghost in your own life, your own desires pushed deep into the shadow. Let's imagine David, a 48-year-old software engineer. He is drowning at work. A project is behind schedule. He's working until midnight every night. His younger colleagues offer to help, but he just smiles and says, "No, I've got it." His pride, he tells himself, won't let him ask. But it is not pride. It is a memory. He remembers being 10 years old. He remembers his father, a good man, constantly stressed about money, his face etched with worry at the dinner table. David remembers desperately wanting a new pair of baseball cleats, but he never asked, because asking for something he wanted felt like adding another stone to his father's already heavy backpack. It felt dangerous. So he learned to be the good kid who never asked for anything. And today, at 48, he is still that good kid, slowly breaking under a weight he refuses to share. His inability to ask for help is not a sign of his strength. It is the echo of his childhood love for his father. This programming leads to the most exhausting role of all. The sixth, you were the peacemaker in the family, and you cannot stand conflict. For most people, a disagreement is just a disagreement. For you, it feels like a threat to your very survival. Conflict does not feel like a disagreement. It feels like an earthquake. It is a seismic event that threatens to shatter the fragile stability you worked so hard to maintain as a child. So you become a master of de-escalation. You are the first to apologize, even when you have done nothing wrong. You are the one who changes the subject, makes a joke, or smooths things over when a conversation gets tense. You have a PhD in swallowing your own truth for the sake of a false peace. Let's go back to Chloe. She is at a family dinner. Her parents, now elderly, start a small, tense bickering over something trivial. The other family members roll their eyes. But Chloe feels a jolt of panic. Her heart starts to beat faster. A cold dread spreads through her chest. It is the same feeling she had when she was 7. And without thinking, she jumps in. "Hey, did I tell you guys what Johnny did in class today? It was so funny." She becomes the entertainer, the distraction. The tension dissolves, the false peace is restored. Everyone relaxes, and no one sees that in order to save the moment, Chloe just had to sacrifice a small piece of her own soul. She has been paying this price at every family dinner, at every tense meeting, in every difficult conversation, for her entire life. Do you see the web now? The threads connecting the roles? To be the peacemaker, you must be the hyper-aware scanner, sensing the conflict before it begins. To be the scanner, you must be the little adult, mature enough to understand the stakes. To be the little adult, you must be the confidant, the one who knows all the secrets. It is a full suit of armor that you were forced to build, piece by piece. And you have worn it for so long, you have forgotten that it is not your skin. And underneath it all, there is a quiet, constant ache. A feeling you can't quite name. The final sign on our list. A subtle, lingering sadness that is the ghost of a childhood you were never allowed to have.
And so we arrive at the seventh sign, the quietest, but perhaps the heaviest of all. It is a subtle, lingering sadness that you can never quite name. An ache that lives behind your ribs, even on your best days. What is the sadness? It is the ghost of a childhood that was never fully lived. It is the grief for the little girl who had to put away her toys to become a peacemaker. It is the mourning for the little boy who learned to silence his own needs to become his mother's rock. It is your soul quietly weeping for a time of innocence that was stolen, not out of malice, but out of necessity. This is the ultimate price of the promotion you never wanted. You learned a template for relationships, a blueprint that you have carried into your adult life. And that blueprint says, "My worth is measured by my usefulness to others. My value is in my ability to anticipate needs, solve problems, and keep the peace. My survival depends on me being the responsible one." This blueprint is a perfect recipe for a life of profound and chronic burnout. Do you see now how it all connects? The superpowers we spoke of in our last conversation. They were not gifts given to you in peace. They were weapons and tools forged in the silent emotional war of your childhood home. Your emotional radar was developed because you had to know the weather before the storm hit. Your pattern recognition was honed because you had to see the hidden moves on the family chessboard to protect the king and queen. Your incredible sense of responsibility was not a choice. It was a conscription. You were drafted into a service you were too young to understand. But here is the most liberating truth you will ever hear. A truth that can change everything right now in this moment. You cannot be fired from a job you never officially accepted. But you can resign. I know the thought of that is terrifying. The little child inside you panics. That old programming screams, "Danger! If I am not the helper, who am I? If I stop carrying this weight, will they still love me? If I am not useful, will I be abandoned?" This is the core fear that has kept you in this role for your entire life. So today, we are not going to fight it. We are not going to have a dramatic confrontation. The resignation is an inside job. It is a quiet, sacred ritual between the wise adult you are today and the brave child you once were. So right now, wherever you are, I invite you to participate in this ritual with me. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if that feels safe for you. Take one deep, slow breath. Now, I want you to call to mind an image of your younger self, the little adult, the secret keeper, the peacemaker.
See her or him. See the seriousness in their eyes. See the weight they are carrying on their small shoulders. See that invisible backpack filled with all the adult worries they were never meant to carry. Just witness them for a moment with all the love and compassion you possess now. Now I want you to imagine the adult you are today walking into that scene. You walk over to that child. You kneel down so you are at their eye level. You do not say, "You did it wrong." You do not criticize them for the strategies they chose. You look into their old, wise eyes, and you speak the truth they have been waiting a lifetime to hear. You say, "Thank you. Thank you for your service. You have done an incredible job. You kept us safe. You held everything together. But I am the adult now, and your shift is over. You can put the bag down." Imagine yourself the adult gently lifting that invisible backpack off their shoulders. Feel the weight of it in your own hands for a moment, and then just let it drop to the floor. It is not yours to carry either. Now look at that child again and give them the one thing they were never fully given: permission. You tell them, "You are free to be a child now. You are free to be messy. You are free to have needs. You are free to be loud. You are free to play. I've got it from here. I will protect you now." And just stay with that image for a moment. Feel the lightness in your own shoulders, the space in your own chest. This is not just an imagination. This is an act of psychological and spiritual liberation. You are consciously rewriting the old unwritten contract. You are telling your nervous system, your shadow, and the deepest parts of your soul that the war is over. The job is done. You are free. This act of resigning is not selfish. It is the beginning of true, sustainable love. Because now, when you choose to help, it will not be from a place of duty, but from a place of genuine desire. When you choose to care, it will not be from a place of fear, but from a place of fullness. You are no longer a child trying to earn your place in the world. You are a sovereign adult, choosing how to share your gifts with it.
Today, we have walked back in time, not to change the past, but to understand the present. We have looked at the quiet, unseen job that so many of us were given, the role of the emotional parent. We have walked through the 7 signs, the confidant, the little adult, the hyper-aware scanner, the one who feels responsible for everything, the one who cannot ask for help, the peacemaker, and the one who carries a quiet, lingering grief. If you have seen yourself in this story, please know you are not alone. This is not a story of a flawed childhood or bad parents. It is the story of a pattern, a deep, often unconscious pattern that ripples through families. But the most powerful truth is that a pattern understood is a pattern that can be changed. The visualization we did today, the gentle act of resigning from that job, is not a one-time fix. It is a practice. It is a relationship you are now building with that younger part of yourself. A relationship of protection, of compassion, and of love. You are learning to become the parent to yourself that you always needed. This is the heart of Jung's work on the shadow and the inner child. It is the act of bringing the unconscious into the light, not with judgment, but with a deep and abiding curiosity. You are not betraying anyone by setting down this weight. You are finally freeing yourself to love from a place of wholeness, not from a place of duty. You are freeing yourself to give from a full well, not an empty one. The journey of reclaiming your childhood, of allowing yourself to have needs, to rest, to play, it is a lifelong practice. Be gentle with yourself. You are unlearning decades of sophisticated survival programming. It will take time. To make this commitment to yourself real, to honor the brave child you once were and the sovereign adult you are becoming, I invite you to share a simple, powerful declaration in the comments below. Just 3 words: my shift is over. By writing these words, you are giving a voice to that part of you that has been silently working for so long. You are joining a community of others who are also learning to set down their burdens. We will witness you. But as you begin this journey of psychological resignation, a fascinating question arises. This role, it was not just a set of thoughts or beliefs, it was a full body experience. It was a physical reality. How did your body, your nervous system, learn to perform this job so well? How did you become so exquisitely wired to please, to appease, to anticipate that it became an automatic biological reflex? This is not just in your mind. It is in your bones. This role hardwired a specific survival response into your very being, a 4th response beyond fight, flight, or freeze. The response that is the biological engine of people-pleasing. It is called the fawn response. And understanding it is the key to truly and physically setting yourself free. That is the deep somatic work we will explore in our next conversation.